unsellable without casings and in tins and jars.
Like bologna is too. Bologna comes in a big thing. They wrap it like a red thing. You peel it off, and you're good to go. It's not in the casing. But bologna, read that definition of bologna, being that I mentioned it. This is a dictatorial definition of bologna. This is what the word bologna means. Bologna.
Baloney. Nonsense. Foolishness.
I mean, get your dictionary and look at the definition of bologna. Go on the internet, Google bologna. Do some research of these foods that we're feeding and killing ourselves with. Pick it up.
The most basic sausages consist of meat cut into pieces or ground and filed into casings such as an animal intestine. The meat may be from an animal, but traditionally is pork, beef, or veal.
From any animal. That's alright, but traditionally from beef, pork, and veal. Keep going.
The meat-fat ratio is dependent upon the style and producer.
The fat is crazy. The fat is another problem with the Lord. We're going to pull this out the Bible today as well. Stay tuned, right?
The meat-fat ratio is dependent upon the style and producer, but in the United States, fat content is legally limited to a maximum of 30%, 35%, or 50% by weight.
Wow, that's a lot of fat. That is a lot of fat. 50%, 35%. Think of the percentage when you go to the store and you get a discount. 25% off. 35% off. Half off. That's a lot of fat. Half of what the original price is, or half the weight of the packaging, you're telling me is half of it is fat. If they say one hot dog weighs 1.5 ounces, how much fat is that? Well, 0.75% fat, am I math? Right. So, it's a lot of fat, depending on the style. You don't know, but you got to check it out. What type of fat? Animal fat, because you get fat from, is produced naturally in foods. You get fat from vegetables, you get fat from beans and stuff like that. When you look at the nutritional value, there's different types of fats. Watch the type of, when you deal with meat, you're not talking about other types of fat. You're talking about fat from the animal, right? Finish that.
The USDA defines the content for various sausages and
the USDA, the United States Department of Agriculture, not of, but agriculture is the A, USDA. That's a branch of the federal government who regulates the food. So the federal government says this is legal. You can eat that. Now, should I obey the powers that be? For you religious people, obey everything. Obey the powers that be. The powers that be say it's okay, it's lawful for you to eat 35, 30, or 50% of fat in your food. But how does that match up with the Lord? How does that match up with the Bible? Pick it up.
The USDA defines the content for various sausages and generally prohibits fillers and extenders.
They generally prohibit. Generally. So for the most part, they prohibit the use of kidneys, they use as a filler, organs, different fillers. Soy, maybe they might mix it with vegetable and meat as a filler. It's not 100% beef. They're fillers. But that's generally. And you also read traditionally how they make it. With what? Read on.
Most traditional styles of sausages from Europe and Asia use no bread-based filler and are 100% meat and fat, excluding salt and other flavorings such as herbs. In the UK and other countries with English cooking traditions, bread and starch-based fillers account for up to 25% of ingredients. The filler used in many sausages help them to keep their shape as they are cooked. As the meat contracts in the heat, so the filler expands.
So here it is. You got a little history on sausages. Pepperoni, beef jerkies, that nature. And you have that. Go do your own research. Dig a little further into the type of foods you eat. Consider what you do in your life, how you live, how you eat, what you consume, and check it out, right? So, with that said, you got a little history of meat. We're going to go into the dietary laws the Lord gave it to us. Because there is a right and wrong, things you should eat and things you shouldn't eat. Right? But before we do that, read you a little excerpt. This happened in 2001. Didn't happen here in America. Didn't get the opportunity to bring out something more recent. This is 2001, an incident at a fast food restaurant. But the concept is, as I'm talking about these different things, do you think it happens today or that stopped happening? There's a book published called Slaughterhouse. You can buy it at Barnes & Noble, Slaughterhouse, by the author Kozel. That depicts, it gives a very nice breakdown on food manufacturing as it is today in this country, and what happens in slaughterhouses and the the rodent population and what the government allows because of this problem. Does the problem still exist today? Sure it does.
Rat burger. Family sues McDonald after allegedly finding rat's head in burger.
That's a heading.
Dateline 4/09 of 01. A Toronto family has filed a $17.5 million lawsuit against McDonald's of Canada, alleging that a 9-year-old Ayan Abdi Jama took a bite of McDonald's hamburger containing the crushed head of a rat, complete with eyes, teeth, nose, and whiskers.
Now, obviously, the rat is not cooked, as we're going to say in the statement. This obviously was placed in. Did it fall in? Did a worker put it in? How did it get in a burger? I mean, a cooked hamburger behooves me. I mean, it beats me. I don't even know. How could that happen? Who was dealing with the food? Think about these things when you go to the heathen to get your food, man. You go to these corner stores with the Arabs and all the different nations, the Africans, these heathen who don't care. They eat these things. The Chinese store, the Chinese food with the rat kebabs. Those TSO chicken and General Chow's chicken turned out to be rat. There's reports of these people ordering a lot of rats. You know, they got busted. I hear that a Chinese restaurant got busted for shaving up rats, trimming rats and filleting them up. And think about it. I've had Chinese food in the past. I don't eat it anymore. I don't take part anymore. But that's a tender chicken. Well, I can't get my... I know you can't get your chicken as tender as these General TSO chickens and General Chow chicken. Because it's not chicken. That's why it's General. They put TSO. It's rat. It's some other type of abominable thing we shouldn't be eating. Nobody should be eating these things. They're not meant for food. Rat is not a food. But the heathen come and cut it up and give it to you and tell you it's chicken and you eat it. I've done it. I'm guilty. But eat, drink, and beware. Become conscious of these things, right? Do your research. Find out. Ask questions. Stay away from the heathen. Don't eat from them. Finish that?
The burger was cooked, the rat was not.
Right. The burger was cooked, the rat was not. It could happen to you people. It could be you. How many McDonald's you got up and down in the communities? All over McDonald's. If it happened once, it can happen again. It's not the first time it happened. This is just what I printed out because we got more important stuff to get into. Finish it up.
In court papers, Ayan's parents claim she has suffered both physical injury and extensive psychological damages. The lawsuit also contends that the restaurant's assistant manager attempted to confiscate the hamburger, but the girl's mother kept it and submitted it to a laboratory for testing. According to the Toronto Star, lab results indicate that the rat's head had been placed in the